TV18 has announced its numbers. The usual disclaimer, the company owns the channel that you are watching. Now, the table which has been sent to the exchange, of course, is not comparable year on year, because year ago we did not include the Viacom 18 numbers. They are included in the current year, but the press release clarifies it and gives you a like-to-like comparison. Revenues are up 11% year on year, and what is strong is the consolidated EBITDA performance, which has come in 42% higher. To decode the numbers, we are now joined by Rahul Joshi, the managing director of TV18, and we're also joined by Sudhanshu Vats, the managing director of Viacom 18. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining. Well, Rahul, first up, revenues. Is subscription doing well? Are advertisements doing well? What's going right?
Latha, I think this is the quarter where we've seen subscription and advertising revenue both doing well for us. I think we have seen a recovery across sectors. Advertising has really kicked in for us. So if you look at overall picture for TV18, I think revenues ex movies has grown about 18%, and I think which is reasonably good. If you look at the subscription revenue, that's grown 16. So at an overall, we've grown 17% in TV18. EBITDA has grown 42%. It shows that, finally regional is paying for us. We've been saying this for a long, long time. We've been able to cut our losses. We've been able to aggressively grow revenues across the board, both for entertainment and news. And I think that's really showing up.
Okay. Is this to some extent because of elections, the good performance of advertising revenues and the good performance of regional channels?
For news, yes, without a doubt. This quarter we have grown advertising 37%, and that is definitely on the back of government revenue, on the back of elections. So yes, this quarter is definitely a case of elections kicking in for us. But if you look at subscription revenue as well, that's 16%, and overall we've grown about 28-29% for news alone this quarter.
Okay. All right. Sudhanshu, this one says Viacom 18 plus Indiacast Entertainment has grown by 6%. Did you suffer a large base?
No, I think there are two ways to look at it. I think, we also operate a movie business, as you know, which is a project-based business. Okay. So on total entertainment, the growth is 6%. You are right, Latha. But if you were to look at outside of movies, because that varies from project to project. Last year for record, we did a very big film called Toilet Ek Prem Katha in this period, and there wasn't a big comparable film this year. I think the growth is about 14%, 13 to 14% for us, for our entertainment business as well. So I think that's good.
Why do you say 13, 14 and not 6?
Because in net of movies, if you were to look at our entertainment portfolio, which is more comparable, that number will be, in mid-teens. 14%. Okay. I think that's what has happened. Our ad sales growth is also close to about 14%. The reason for this, actually, this year, the ad sales again has two components. So our regional portfolio has done very well. So our regional growths are upwards of 40%. Our FTA portfolio has done very well, which is free-to-air channels where the growths are upwards of 50%. Our flagship channel Colors runs large impact properties. These are large properties like Big Brother or Big Boss in India, or Fear Factor or Got Talent. So depending on which quarter that comes in, so this year the comparator were Colors for a little weak. So ideally, if we were to look at net of that, we would be delivering ad sales growths in early 20s, which is comparable to what the best in class is and well ahead of the market.
Okay. Well, let me speak a little more about movies, because I liked Andhadhun, but I guess that will get counted in this quarter. What can you guide in terms of the second half? Are there any big releases? I'll come to the television part in a bit, but in terms of movies, should investors expect some...
So there is good news already, Latha, in terms of movies. So we don't have a big release like Padmavat last year. We don't have a tentpole like that. But there is a slew of lot of good films which are coming. So first of all, great news. We've opened our account in South India as well. We did our first Telugu film called Devdas, which did exceedingly well, which is also coming in this quarter. And Andhadhun, you are absolutely right. Andhadhun, by the way, second weekend has just got over, Latha. And second weekend is higher than first weekend. In the recent recorded history of Bollywood, this is only the second film which has done that. And the first film was also ours, which was Queen in 2014. So I think a second weekend doing better than first weekend speaks volumes for content. Kudos to the team. I think they've done a fantastic job.
Okay.
You know, we've got Bazaar coming up. We've got a slew of the number of films which we are doing will keep getting dialed.
Okay.
We
Before
don't have
I ask you for a guidance, I know it's lumpy and difficult. Tell us a little more about Voot. I mean, how have the downloads been? How many people? What is the increase in the number of people who are subscribing?
Yeah, so Voot, again, we've got fantastic news. Voot continues to be a strong #2 premium OTT player in the country. We've actually just crossed a milestone of 100 million gross downloads. Our current monthly active is hovering at around 45 million. And our watch time, as I keep telling you all the time, is always the highest. Our watch time is about 42 minutes. Currently, people are crazy about Big Boss 12, which is going on. We are seeing close to about 7 to 8 million daily views on Big Boss 12. And our fiction is responding very well also. So some of our shows on fiction also are delivering upwards of about 2 million daily views. So I think there is, on Voot, we've got a huge amount of momentum already there. But as we go forward, we are also looking at a kids service, which will come in towards the end of this year, early next year. That's a very special service, and we'll talk about it later. That's the piece.
Okay, I'll ask you about investments. And at what point do we stop being in investment mode, and at what point do we start making money? Last time you told me Tamil was new. This time I think it's Kannada which is new. But before that, Rahul, you spoke about government advertising, and I guess it will evolve into party advertising as we get closer to elections. But what about corporates? Have you seen a pickup in advertising revenue? Because I would assume that is the most sustainable piece.
Oh, yes, of course we have. So I was talking about regional from the context of government advertising, but if you look at our mainstream channels, they've grown about 28% this quarter. So that's a significant jump, and that is largely on the back of corporate and retail advertising. I think in regional, while government has really grown, I think we have also seeding the business for the long term, and I see corporate and retail advertising both picking up for all our 14 regional channels. So I'm very hopeful of that. If you look at our Hindi channel, has done exceedingly well. So has business. Put together 28% growth, I think, is on the back of corporate advertising. So I think that there is a clear uptick there. Okay.
And yeah, just to come to the investment mode, this time it is Kannada cinema that's been launched. Last quarter, I think it was Tamil. So when do these start generating money?
So, firstly, the good news. So, the Colors Kannada Cinema as well, Latha, has opened very well. It's opened to about 70 GVM. It's the #2 movies channel in week 1 of its launch. So, it's done exceedingly well. I think we follow a philosophy where we want to break even in year 3 of the launch of the channel and a cumulative break even in year 5. But again, the good news there is that 2 of our channels which were launched, so let me talk about MTV Beats and our, Rishte Cineplex, which was our movies channel which were launched. Both have broken even in under 2 years. So I think
one should expect that of these.
Yes. And Colors Tamil is also from an advertising and a revenue point of view tracking very well. We've got to keep dialing up the viewership as we go forward.
Okay. All right. Finally, Rahul, this is an impressive number, the EBITDA growth of 42%. I don't know how much you can guide, because obviously there are a lot of one-off events as well, no budget, but perhaps elections would bring in some money. What kind of a guide? Is this a doable quarterly run rate, over 100 crores EBITDA?
So, Latha, what I would say is that, regional, has been able to cut its losses. We've been able to drive revenues aggressively for the regional piece. And more importantly, the investments that we had made, aggressive investments that we had made in FY 16-17 are now seeming to pay off. And if you look at this quarter, we've cut losses by 70%. And I think that is the heartening news. And I think we will be able to grow revenues at without giving any guidance, I would say that, the worst is behind us as far as regional is concerned. And I think that is where the real story is, regional and Hindi. English, we are doing reasonably well, as expected, because we have leadership positions across all. If you look at our, we are #1 news broadcaster in the country with a share of 10.7%. Over the last 2 years, it has been a slow and steady rise from a #6 position to #1. If you look at, our business portfolio, it is now 70, Our share is 70% for CNBC TV18. In market hours, we are 77%, so we are pretty much the market. In Hindi, we are 62%, so we are again pretty much the market. CNN News 18 has now become a strong number 3, doing reasonably well in the last few weeks. Hindi is now number 2 in HSM mega cities. I think overall we are number 3. So I think good news there also. So I think our entire, if you look at the health of our brands and if you look at the ratings, I think we are really in a commanding situation, and I think eventually it will lead to revenues.